who are we to say that we originated in Africa simply because Europeans told us we originated in Africa? Now, we want to believe that, okay, yeah, we originated in Africa because that, that gives us some sense of pride to say, well, at least we know they admitting that we originated in Africa, that mankind originated with us, so, at least they're admitting that. But, to use that, they use, like, Lucy's bones and whatnot, and they tell us, yeah, that was our ancestor and whatnot, and we believe that, too, because, it makes us feel good, but we don't really research those bones and see if they're really monkey bones, but, we'll take it, so, I mean, it goes real deep as far as, like, the Mu and the Atlantis theories and whatnot. But when you look at all the information and you look at the different pyramids that people are finding under the ocean, and, they're finding pyramids everywhere. They've been found the ones that were off the coast of Japan where they're saying it was probably the Mu area. Well, they're finding the ones in, off the coast of Florida and near Bermuda and all of that stuff also. Is that where Atlantis was? We never know, but those pyramids and stuff are there, so somebody was living there. Somebody did something there. That land was above the water at some point, so,
right.
I do,
Right. Yeah, there's cities in the Pacific Ocean made of stone that are miles, cities that are miles,
Yeah.
Cities that are bigger than Los Angeles made of stone in the Pacific Ocean.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what's that about? So there's something going on that's bigger than Africa, and I just feel like they're trying to put us in a box. So if you do wake up, okay, well, if you're waking up, we got something prepared for you when you wake up. It's called Africa. Now you can get in that box.
Exactly. And it's almost like they want us to be like, oh, it's only about Africa. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with, like, I love my people everywhere we are, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it seems like they want us to say, okay, yeah, let's all just go back there. At least that way they still can maintain control of all the other regions where we also were since the beginning of time on this planet. But, if we can say, okay, yeah, we're just Africa, then like you said before, like we're giving up the rest of where we live. Like the whole planet is our home. You know what I'm saying?
We had a lot of confusion, and I know there are people that are listening that are going to disagree. Those of you that have been following my work and have heard this all before, absolve me for the repetition. Those of you that have never heard this, you're going to be angry. But there's a lot of confusion amongst our people. We have the Hebrew Israelite faction. We have the Moorish faction. We have the Nation of Islam faction. We have the Christian faction. We have the Gang Lord faction. Right now, we're still going through this division. But what I want people to, not only that, let me go one step further. We have the Central and South American faction as well as the so-called Pacific Islander faction. When the Europeans started coming here, they came here deliberately looking for us. They heard about us, they heard about here, and they wanted to find out about us. Columbus did not get lost. When they say, oh, Columbus got lost, he was looking for India or Africa or whatever, and he wound up here. Columbus was looking for here. Way back in the day, the term Indies and India and Indian applied to this landmass, the landmass currently called India. Back in those days, I believe the landmass was called Bharat, B like boy, H like happy, A, R like Randy, A-T. Bharat is what modern-day India was called. So when Columbus went sailing looking for the Indies, he was trying to get here. The problem was he didn't get on the mainland. He landed on the islands of what people would call Haiti and these areas today, those areas over there. And if you watch the movie 1492, you will get a great example of how they came and did the people there. It's the same thing. It's the same game going on all the time. What they're doing in Iraq and Afghanistan right now is the same game. It's always the same party. But the reason they say he got lost is because even though he made it to the Americas or the Indies, he made it to the islands. He didn't get to the mainland. And when he went back and requested more resources, so that he could try again. They told him, oh, you know, thanks but no thanks. We don't need your help. Someone else got there before you. So I want to say that to clarify for people that Columbus wasn't lost at all. He knew they were trying to get here. When they arrived here, and all of the documentation, all of the evidence points to the fact that they found on the shores of the Americas, and when I say Americas, I mean Peru, Alaska, Canada, Mexico, whatever they're called, Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba, the Virgin Isles, St. Thomas, all of these areas, they found these copper, brown-colored people with bushy and or wavy or curly hair. Our hair texture went quite the gamut. And their evidence shows that. Now, they try to clean it up because people like me and some of my sisters and brothers are making the determinations about what's true. You have to remember that the current conquerors who are sitting here in military de facto occupation on the backs of the de jure empires they found here, those individuals are cut and paste specialists. They are the masters of rewriting, cutting out, pasting in, doing whatever they need to do to make sure that when they're done, something says what they needed to say to give them the upper hand. For example, a lot of their DNA results that are, for whatever reason, taking all of our people, or the vast majority of us, and lifting us off of the Americas and plopping us genetically into Africa. There is a reason why they're doing that. And I'm saying to everyone, do not believe them for a second. Do not trust them for a second. The term Africa really, in European circles, the highest societies of European circles are fully aware that the people that currently call themselves African American are in fact the Aboriginal, indigenous, autochthonous Americans that they found here when they got here. They just don't disclose that to everyone, but it is known in the circles. The term Africa really just means conquered or subjugated people. That's really what it boils down to. It also is something they started applying to Carthage and all of the holdings of ancient Carthage when they defeated Carthage. And Hannibal Barca was one of the greatest military generals of all time. Most military generals of any sort try to mimic and monitor after or model after Hannibal Barca. And one of the holdings that they got when they subjugated Hannibal or subdued Hannibal was they were able to get him to relinquish his navy, the Carthaginian navy, and it was handed over to the invaders at the Land of Flowers. On the shores of the Land of Flowers is where the military navy or naval fleet was given over to the conquerors. And the Land of Flowers is currently called Florida. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people have problems with the way a lot of our youth behave as far as how they are so combative, a lot of them. They're fighting turf wars and this nonsense over little blocks, and this is my block, and this is our hood. You know, what I try to tell people that don't comprehend the big picture, the Europeans, when they started subduing our people all over the globe, everywhere they went around the world, and they confiscated all of the writings. Much of the writings were burned. A lot of the writings were just basically collected, stored, and holding with the Vatican in the attics and basements of some of these libraries, Smithsonian Institutes, these types of places. They're sitting on a lot of our information, and they know not to disclose it. But one of the things that they know, because they read our works, they know our history and our prophecies, they know about the timelines, they know about things like the astrological placement of the planets and how the planets move and the energies and the effect that the energies of the movements will have. These individuals were born at this time, and the Europeans knew they were born at this time to come and fight a turf war. That's why a lot of these little warriors re-entered the planet through the gateway of the melanin-rich mother, who is the maternal matriarchal guardian of the earth. One of the things that they've done is, knowing that these warriors were going to come, they started turning them on themselves, using all of their media imagery and what have you, before they actually started fighting the war for the real turf that they came to fight for, rather than fighting for the Americas, and I mean all of the Americas, North, Central, and South, or the planet and globe in general, because we are a global people.
As a people, we haven't thought for ourselves, and for so long, it's been such a long time since we thought for ourselves that we could pretty much allow anyone to tell us anything, and we don't mull it over. We don't go through a thinking process, right? We just accept it, right? I said something on Facebook. I said that this is how the truth in black people work. The truth in black people work like this. Black people accept the truth only if they like or dislike it, right? The truth or lie, I should say. The truth or lie is based on whether black people like or dislike someone, something, or someplace. If black people dislike something, then it's a lie. If they like something, it's the truth, right? You could put this factually in their face, show them factually, and they're not going to pay attention to what's factually in front of their face, what logically makes sense. They're not going to pay attention to that. They're going to go along with what they like, what makes them feel comfortable, what they would rather believe rather than to know. They would rather go with that. This is how you can tell black people who don't have black skin, right, who are not the color of black, who don't have black skin. This is how you can tell ignorant black people that, or so-called Negroes, or whatever you call our people, whatever they call themselves, African American. This is how you can give them all these false identities and titles. You could tell them black, tell them they're black, right? They don't have the color of black skin, right? You can tell them they're African, right? Yet no black people got together and called that so-called continent Africa. There was no black people that did that. The Romans did that. The white man did that. He called that place Africa, right? He said that our people were Africans. He called the continent Africa, the so-called continent Africa. I said to people logically, how can you be African if you were before the name? You know, we'll take the scraps off of anybody's table, especially if they white. Whatever name they call us, whatever name they give to us, we just take it off the damn plate and we accept it and we just wear it. We wear it like an emblem, and we try to get proud with that. We get proud with that. We get proud with calling ourselves damn Africans. We get proud with calling ourselves black. We get proud with calling ourselves Negroes. You understand that? We get proud of that. No matter what the white man hands off the table to our people and identifies us from his mindset, from his limited mindset of who he wants us to be. Not who we actually are, who he wants us to be, we accept it. Yet you Negroes swear y'all not still slave-minded, that you're not still slaves mentally. Right? You swear you're still not slaves. How can you not be slaves and accept these titles from the white man? You tell me right now what black men got together, and I'll take anybody's phone call. I dare all you Pan-Africans to come up here and tell me what black men got together and called some continent Africa. 914-338-0504. See, because we got to put an end to this garbage, this African garbage that we sitting up here calling ourselves, this red, black, and green crap. We got to come out of the damn colored section of the planet and stop with this nonsense. Because whenever you start calling yourself African, you're doing nothing but marginalizing our people into a small section when the whole planet belonged to us. Was the planet called Africa? Did God call the planet Africa? Did black men call the planet Africa? Did they call a section Africa? The answer is hell emphatically no. No, they did not. Those titles come from white people. Same way your names, you so-called Pan-Africanists still got slave names. You know, you Pan-African, you African in the nighttime when you off your job, but you got the American slave name, your government name in the daytime. How phony is that? You want to throw on the kente cloth and the dashiki and the funny hats and stuff like that. Half you niggas never even been to Africa. Half you think Africa's a country, not even a so-called continent. Right? Why do you limit yourself like this? Why? Because the white man called you an African? Black people didn't call themselves Africans. The Africans over there didn't even name the continent Africa. They named individual sections, but not any continent. They didn't think in continents. Why? Because when we were moving on the mega continent, when everything was connected, we would just go and set up places and set up sections in different places. We went everywhere. Black people was all over the planet. Then we come with this nonsense about, oh, well, all life started in Africa. All life started in Africa. How do you discern that all life started in Africa? How do you discern that? If everything was one landmass, how do you discern that all life started in Africa if everything was one landmass and there wasn't even no name to the whole to no continents yet? There was no continental drifts yet. Black people was walking all over the planet. So how are you going to discern whether life started all in Africa? Right? That's a bunch of nonsense. That's nonsense. That does nothing but limit our people. It gets us focused on culture. Right? This is the reason why we got that name, and the people that named us this was done to slow us down and stagnate us. Right? Because if you allow other people to identify you, if you allow other people to tell you what you are, then you will forever be a slave to these people. You will forever be captured in the imagination of these people. So if the white man called us African, then guess what? We will always be limited by that terminology.
Matter of fact, we have friends. My wife and I, we've been blessed to have folk from all around the world, like friends from all around the world, you know. And this is even going back to India. One of the reasons why this has materialized in my life is because my, cultural background, if you will, or racial background, it is global. Literally, it is global. You know, most people say he's black. What the hell does that mean? You know what? No, it's deeper than that. Okay, and all of the dynamics that play a role in this is deeper than that. And you can't put me in that box. I will not be placed in that box. It's so silly. I'm not teaching my children to be placed in these silly boxes that we prescribe to that's based upon illusion that's only been around for 500 years. If you go to Africa and you went to someone who was Ethiopian and you said, you're African, they'd be like, what? No, I'm Ethiopian. If you went to, let's say if you went to Cape Verde, which some of my answers come from, you said, you know what, you're just African. They'd be like, no, I'm from Cape Verde. And more specifically, I'm from Fogo. I'm from Cabo Verde, but I'm from Fogo. I'm from Praia. They're very specific. Okay, if you go to South Africa and you say, you know what, you're just straight African, they say, no, we're South African. They're very specific. You see, one of the reasons why this concept of race is so ridiculous is because it just oversimplifies the complexities of all of the various types of people who exist on planet Earth. And see, one of the reasons why this level of disrespect of the complexities is directly related to the human being's disrespect of that which created it. Oh my goodness, do I need to get into this? See, what people perceive to be race, it's an illusion. It is an illusion. We think that somehow there's a superior race and that there's a inferior race. Some people believe that all races came from one race. No, it's ridiculous. No. See, the reason why people believe that is because they believe that is because their mind is limited based upon their racial prescription. So you hear a lot of black people say, well, you know, white people, they're just derivatives of black people. No, they're not. You know, that the Asians, they're derivative of black people. No, they're not. Why do we think that way? Why do we think that somehow all the human beings came from one human being? You know, you get all these little reports. Yeah, they found this body in Africa, this ancient, and this is all life came. No, it did not come off. Life didn't come from Africa. You guys are ridiculous. That's just limiting the creative power of the earth. See, that's like saying all of the birds that exist here came from one bird. Because human species, we're no different than any other species here. We're animals. We are basically animals. Okay? How we live, irrespective of our conscious awareness, we would be operating just like any other animal here on planet Earth. So then if we apply this logic that somehow all races came from quote unquote one race, again, we're using that term race very loosely because that's an illusion in the first place. See, it's illusions based upon illusions. You're just stacking illusions on top of each other. And you really think about how people live their whole lives based upon illusions stacked upon illusions. If we use this illogic, where we say that somehow all of the human beings came from one human being, then we should also be able to say that all birds came from one bird. Does that make sense? If all human beings came from one human being, then all birds must come from one bird. And all fish must come from one bird. Or excuse me, all fish must come from one fish. Does that make any sense? No, it's ridiculous.
Anything we do. So for us to get to anywhere, we got to get home. Because Marcus Garvey, when he was here, something spiritual, he never, all this Africa movement he did, he never been over there. Because guess what? He couldn't finish. He could not finish what was here first. So he had to finish that first. Finish what's here. So if that failed, that means anytime we trying to go to Africa and do this, everything we do will fail. Because our ancestors said, we did all of this shit, and y'all going to leave? Y'all going to leave? You're going to leave it up for them? You're going to let them take over our land? Hard work and dedication and death and hunger and things like that? So when I be meditating, I'm like, I used to always, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. 2 years ago, I said, I'm going to Africa. I'm leaving. But every time me and my consort, we was like, we still want to visit, but we was like, man, we're gonna go over there and live and this and that. But all this bad stuff start happening to us every time we start saying Africa, and it got our minds back to the soil. So I was like, you know what? We had to worry about home because of Marcus Garvey. He had that movement. It was strong. It was Africa. It was everything. But he never stepped foot over there because his spirit, his ancestors said, you have to finish what's here. Malcolm X, before he died, he went to the UN to try to get everything right. He went to Africa, and Africa was trying to get everyone's mind right over there in Africa. Their mind wasn't right in Africa. Then when Malcolm X came back over here, and he was like, okay, we got to get our mind right. So we're going to get our mind right. As soon as Malcolm died, people in Africa he was trying to revolute to get their mind right, they wasn't even ready. But Malcolm was ready. So it's a thing that we have to get something done here. History was proved that every time we try to do the Africa thing, it failed. That's why they print out these African shirts. That's why they make these little African things, because they don't want your mind to be on home. So once we leave here, it's free for all. They got the land. They got the land. Like, America, all their hard work and dedication their ancestors did, hey, they did it for nothing. They ran to Africa. So we have to claim our land here. Then we can worry about Australia, Africa. Because we keep saying Africa. We forgot about Australia because Australia is we forgot all about that. You know, we always mention every teacher say Africa, Africa this, Africa that, but we never mention here. So they got our minds off of here. And Abraham Lincoln said this is the Egypt of the West. So if this is the Egypt of the West, this is home. This is home. He said this is Turtle Island, Egypt of the West. And there's pictures up online that have Turtle Island that's here. You know what Yaffa said, a Maxim and things like that. This is the homeland, the Egypt of the West. They found Egyptian figures in the Grand Canyon, and they hid from us. You know, they got pyramids in Pasadena, California. That's way better than some of the pyramids in Egypt. So, because we've been blinded by TV and blinded by these little things, say Africa this, Africa. No, you are at home. You are. When Malcolm X went over there, and he was like, "Well, I'm in Mecca, and I'm in Egypt. I'm at home." They're like, "No, your home is over there." They told Malcolm his home was over there, and he was pissed. The whole time he was duped and thought home was over in Mecca and Africa. No, they told him, no, your home is in America. That's the true and living home. So we need to get it together. We need to get, man, people, I swear, when we come out, like, man, people be out, don't be ready. The Umar Johnsons and all this world, they be lying. They all lie. It's a cop-out. It's a cop-out. It's always worrying about what other people got. You know, Omar Gaddafi did this with the goal, Obama killed him. No, it don't have nothing to do with us. We got to worry about here. So when we go about here, we rule this, we can do anything we want to do. So it ain't gonna never work. It will never work until we get home, because that means our ancestors did it for nothing. Then they died, got hung, got raped, got destroyed, and you see the effects now.
And I'm agree with you on all of that, except for don't be talking about Dr. Umar on my show. You done messed up now. But let me say this: you're not talking about Dr. Umar on my show. I ain't gonna let.
Black people can't be Americans. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African.
When the bee stings, when the feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel the beat, the beat, the book, the when the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel.
And when I heard you say bang on that beast,
You know what I'm saying? You got me fired up. You know what I'm saying? I've been in the military for 8 years. I was ready. You know, I watched your videos. You be sweating and shit, hiding shit and yelling. Yo, man, for real, I like it.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you for listening to, you know, what I had to say.
Yo, at the same time, been sharing your message and shit, and I've been waiting. You feel me? I've been waiting for us to get it. You talking about war and shit. You the general. You feel me? But I ain't seeing you doing nothing, man. All I hear your ass doing is yelling. I'm right here outside of Milwaukee, Killer Key, where they killing niggas for free. You feel me? And your ass ain't out here like that. So what the fuck is we supposed to do? And when you say bang on that beast, what does you really mean? What are you really saying?
You said you understood. Now you don't understand?
And because I hear what you saying.
I mean, you didn't shift on me. You know, I'm trying to, because, you know, I mean, what are you, I mean, you asking what are you doing? You understand? You already know I'm one individual, and so you know I'm not about to carry no nigga across the line.
This dark complexion in the warm sunlight is natural suntan lotion. But in the cold, it stops the sunlight from getting in. So this human organism, black of skin, dark brown of skin, begins to depigment itself. Dr. Richard King says it takes 16 generations for a black person to become pale.
Why? Now this takes us to Fiji. Now I had a chance to visit Fiji for the first time in March. I went there before the coup. I went there because I went on my own, didn't organize a tour, by myself, nothing was planned, got a hotel at the last minute because I was told that these black people in the Pacific said they came from Africa. And they said it with great pride.
My brother, right here, he asked, what does RBG mean? RBG has many different meanings, but it all has like the same focus. It's about Marcus Garvey, what Marcus Garvey was about.
Check it out.
So RBG can mean the red for the blood.
Ever come on your cry?
Black. Right. But also, at night, the sky's black, and outer space is black, right? Yeah. What gives the tree, the green, what gives us this color is carbon. Carbon is the same thing that makes you black. Melanin. Yeah. It is what, when the sun hit it, it makes you strong. You know what I'm saying? White folks don't have that. The white boy, he don't have carbon.